What's up, y'all? So I was doing some research, and I said I'm born and raised in Chicago. That's my hometown, and I love Chicago. I have family in Chicago. I think Chicago is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. But it's some issues in the city, some crime, and also you're dealing with the migrant crisis, and also you're dealing with ICE and now deporting people. So I'm gonna play a couple of clips in here. I'm going to play one of the first clips I'm going to play is an activist that's actually on the ground in Chicago. And he had a couple of things to say on this crisis in Chicago. And I think it is very important that we see this and digest this. Give me a second while I bring it up. Let me see. Where is it at? This is it. Let me see if this is it. Okay, there we go. So let me go ahead and do a screen share. And let me know if y'all can hear me real good, because like sometimes the mic doesn't work. Okay, here we go.
Pissed off because a lot of people out there are acting like they don't understand what is actually happening in the city of Chicago in regards to the ICE raids. Let me tell you something. Black people, again, are collateral damage in this. And all the black people that are getting mad at ICE and Donald Trump, hold on, you got to get mad at the politicians right here locally, because it was the politicians right here in your city that decided to dump the migrant issue on the black community like they do every single time. When they came across the border and checked asylum, they were able to come over into our city and get incentives like medical care, 6 months free rent, free transportation, free child care. We fed them each and every day. And those people that they were giving assistance to, they didn't go up to the north side and to the white community. All of the people out there protesting that are white, they didn't open up their...
See, they didn't go to the white areas. So mind you, in ICE raids, it was in the south side of Chicago and the South Shore area. And people were sitting me up saying, oh, why are they coming out to black people? I said, the reason why they are putting the raids in those areas is because that is where the migrants live. They live in black neighborhoods. When they bust the migrants to Chicago, they put the migrants in the hood where the black folks at. They tried to put them with the white folks, but them white folks said, hell no, put them over there. Even, catch this, even the Hispanic people, they put them, the Hispanic communities didn't even want the migrants in the Hispanic communities. So they put them in the black neighborhoods. So when you see them videos going around with the migrants is in these black neighborhoods, it's because that is where, when you see ICE going to those black neighborhoods, that is where the migrants is at. And it's sad, it's pathetic, but let's get some more into this video.
Doors for them, and they didn't want none of the shelters on their neighborhood. Guess where they opened up the shelters? In the black community. Those same school buildings that they shut down in 2013 that were educating black kids, they took those school buildings and they made them migrant shelters.
All of the buildings that they shut down, they made it into the migrant shelter. That is so correct. This guy that you see on the screen is Jamal Green. He tried to have one of the buildings on the south side, I believe, and he wanted to put one of the buildings and make it into a community center. They didn't allow it. The same buildings that he got denied, they're using it for shelters for these migrants. And it's so sad. They was even giving these people 6, 7, 8 months free rent. 8 months free rent. And black folks can't even get that. It's so sad. And so we'll get some more into this video because I'm getting turned up this morning, y'all.
And then they gave over $700 million to a company out in Florida to manage those shelters. They took the buildings that you've been asking for to be developed and build new housing, and they made them into migrant homes, giving them 6 months of free rent. They dumped the problem on black community like they do every single time. When it was George Floyd riots, they closed downtown and pushed people to loot into the neighborhoods because they knew that people didn't care. Where was all the people right now? They weren't in our neighborhoods helping us open up back up our businesses. They were not in our neighborhoods helping us clean up. They weren't in our neighborhoods when we were fighting for Laquan McDonald, who was shot 16 times by Jason Van Dyke. I didn't see them at the protest. But now, right now, they want to make black people a part of the fight When they made us collateral damage in the first place, we are always losing. That's why ICE is raiding buildings where black people are, is because they put them there. They pay for their rent. They pay for their food. They pay for their childcare. They pay for everything, but they didn't put them where they live. They put them where black people live because they don't want to invest into the community. So that's the easiest place to dump a problem. So yes, we can say ICE is being aggressive. Yes, we know that our armed forces are always aggressive more to us. But what we can say is that our politicians did it to us. They should have never allowed them to come over here in droves like they did. And then when they did come over here, they should have never put them and dumped them in black communities, acting like we didn't want economic development, like we didn't deserve better schools and deserve community centers and deserve grocery stores. We deserve better. And our politicians need to act like it. Stop putting everything before us.
Y'all heard that? None but facts. So where's the other video at? I just want to show y'all. Okay, this is another one. And this is about
the ICE raids.
The corrupt politicians. Let's get more into this. Give me a second. They said, you going to Walmart anytime soon? Stop playing. We live talking about Chicago. Hey. Don't come in here trolling me now. Here we go.
And the migrant crisis in the city of Chicago and Illinois is a manufactured crisis for politicians on both sides, either for politics or for money. And I'm asking the residents of the city of Chicago not to be political pawns in between. There are great folks that I know, that I actually hire, that are immigrants who've been here for many years. Some that may not be on papers, that I know are scared. But guess what? They are collateral damage in between the politics and the money side of what's going on. What do I mean by that? Well, in 2022, when the governors of Texas and Florida, when they started to ship folks to other cities by buses because they didn't want to put the burden on their taxpayers, their dollars in their states, they didn't want to spend it on migrants, they sent them to sanctuary cities. Sanctuary cities saw that as a chance to be able to get labor and to be able to make money through all of the contractors and their friends that were pouring money into their campaigns. That's why in the state of Illinois, we spent billions. Right here in the city of Chicago, Mayor Brandon Johnson has spent $1 billion. And the majority of that money went to contractors that were out of town. People who probably gave them kickbacks or campaign donations. This was a huge money grab. And guess who suffered? The people in communities where migrants were placed, the buildings that they gave 6 months of free rent to that were run down.
They gave them free rent. Baby, if I could get them opportunities, and we're going to get into why Trump should send the troops to Chicago. We're going to get into that.
Do you know how many folks from the cartel and how many folks from overseas who came over here that committed crimes? You know how many folks have committed murder that were migrants? You know how many folks that have committed rape against children that were migrants? But they are playing politics right now, protecting them, all because of $1, because of campaign donations, because they got to play politics because they hate Trump more than they love the people. What I'm asking the people out there is to not be political pawns. I know what being a political pawn looks like. I was that young boy who was leading those protests, in which I thought people like these politicians cared about us. And
these politicians don't care. We have to make them care. That's one thing you have to do. You have to make them care. Or you have to run and be the change. And you need a group of people because it's power in numbers. You know what I'm saying? So that's how it comes to that. But you just sitting up there just protesting, that ain't gonna change nothing too much. You also gotta have power in the inside as well. You gotta have the power in the inside. Hey, Jada, if you up, Jada, come on my show. We got to have a conversation, Jada, on the show. We got to talk about the moderator situation. If you free, Jada, I would love for you to come on the show. And everything. So get up. I'm live on YouTube. I'm live right now on YouTube.
used me and our protest for many years to gain the power that they wanted so that they could take care of their friends and play power games. While in the communities we're suffering, kids are literally dying in the streets. They're being
they show dying in the streets, but Brandon Johnson is talking about, oh, the crime is low. The crime is low. It's a historical low and everything like that. The crime is low.
Miseducated in our schools. They're living in food deserts, and none of these politicians and none of them come in our neighborhoods. Pastors who actually are in the pulpit in churches, they're getting money for shelters right now for migrants, and they've never come into the community. So I say to you, don't be a political pawn in between the politics and the money of this. Be better than that. Stay clear. The ICE raids.
So that's how you said it. So he had a couple of videos up there and he had a whole lot of stuff to say. Now, I'm going to play you the clip of some of the press conference. We're going to do a review of this. This is fair use that the Chicago Police Department superintendent did. And I'm going to play it at the beginning of it. And so give me a second. I'm going to play at the beginning of it. This is, give me a second here. I'm going to play at the beginning of it. Hold on 1 second. Get to that. Hey, Church, I got to get you on the show too. If you free, is you all right? I got to get you on the show too because you have been doing great. I've been following your progress and your love. You have been doing great. I would love to get you on the show. I'm gonna reach out to you. But just say yes. Just say yes. So I just got to get you on the show. All right. So let me play this clip of the superintendent in Chicago, because apparently ICE have been going at it with the residents in Chicago. Let's play a clip. Let me play some of this press conference. Okay, I'm gonna hit you. I'm gonna definitely hit you up, bro. I'm gonna definitely hit you up because I'm doing a 24-hour live on YouTube, and I definitely want you to be on there. Not for the full 24 hours, but for an hour or so or 30 minutes.
Federal immigration enforcement efforts continue in Chicago. Let's listen in.
That's going on in the city. So I want to be clear about one thing. This is about law enforcement response to these types of incidents. So I want to be clear that I'm going to limit my responses to that. So it would be appreciated if your questions are around our law.
Now listen, he look at the superintendent Shelling. Hope I said his name right. Because apparently an ICE agent vehicle, they ran into an ICE agent vehicle. But let's get into what this superintendent
law enforcement response to what we're seeing here with federal agents and immigration enforcement and how we respond. I've been quiet a little too long because I want to stay out of the politics of this because, as you know,
get into it. He want to stay out of the politics. See, that was shade towards Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, because the mayor of Chicago is playing politics with this stuff. He playing politics. He up there trying to take up for the migrants and all that because Chicago supposed to be a sanctuary city. Now, mind you, Chicago is pretty much on the verge of being bankrupt because they spent all that money, billions of dollars, hundreds of millions of the COVID money went to the migrant crisis, not towards citizens of Chicago, the citizens of Chicago that was born and raised. It went towards people with no rights to this country, came here illegally. So this superintendent that you see on the screen is not playing the politics.
There's a lot of politics around this. I don't play politics. I've told you that before. I'm the head of a department that enforces the law. We have to be politically neutral if we are going to enforce the law the way that it's supposed to be enforced, impartially. We want to make sure that when we show up, we're keeping every single person in this city safe, and we want to keep the peace. That's our jobs. And that's what our men and women out there every single day are doing, putting their lives on the line to keep this city safe. So I just want to be clear about a few things. The events that are
to keep in the city safe, that is his sole responsibility. But a lot of people wanted the superintendent of the Chicago Police Department to pretty much arrest ICE agents, and he can't do that. So let's get some more into details of what he have to say.
Occurred on Saturday. when there was a shooting involving ICE agents. So I'm going to start with a timeline. It started out with our two deputy chiefs who responded to the scene. That would be Deputy Chief Brian Kinane and Deputy Chief Gabriella Shemash. They did an excellent job over there. The narrative is out there that CPD was not on scene. CPD did not show up. Let me just put all of that to rest. At 10:32 a.m., CPD receives a call of a person shot at 39th and Kedzie. By 10:36 a.m., CPD responds. They located a woman who flagged them down. She had been shot. She stated that she had been shot by federal agents. CFD was called. She was taken to the hospital to have her gunshot wounds treated. At 11:06, CPD officers are at the hospital with this individual who had been shot. At 11:25 a.m., CPD units are holding down the scene where the offending vehicle was located. And when I say
and get into it, it was an attack with some situations going on with this ICE activity in Chicago. And this is one of the main reasons why I feel that President Donald Trump should send the National Guard up to Chicago. Is getting out of hand, not only with the ICE raids, and they're not respecting the federal agents, but the crime in Chicago is so high.
The offending vehicle, we're talking about the vehicle that smashed into the Border Patrol vehicle.
Wait a minute, wait to. There we go.
At 11:36 a.m., the scene is then turned over to federal authorities for their investigation after CPD was clear that there was a shooting that involved this particular person who was at the hospital. At 12:12 p.m., in a separate incident, and I believe people have been conflating these two things. In a separate incident from the shooting, there was a vehicle that rammed the federal agents off the road, ran them off the road at 3200 West 35th Street. They crashed as a result of it. That offending vehicle also struck another vehicle in that location, another federal vehicle in that location, and then fled the scene. Our officers arrived on the scene to do the reports and document everything that happened. We have no documented injuries from that incident. At 12:28 p.m., federal agents called for CPD to assist due to a large crowd gathering at 39th and Kedzie. At 1:09 p.m., additional CPD units are en route to 39th and Kedzie. At 1:15 at 39th and Kedzie, where CPD is on scene, a group of protesters began moving barricades at federal agents.
See, a group of protesters began to remove barricades. That's why, this is going to be President Donald Trump way, or input to get the National Guard in Chicago, to have troops on the ground. The courts have already decided not to grant Chicago a temporary restraining order. I believe they're supposed to go to court either today or tomorrow, federal court, about bringing troops to Chicago. So I'm gonna play some more of this.
Deployed tear gas. At 2:56 p.m., objects are being thrown at CPD by members of the public. Federal agents again deployed gas to leave the area. So let me just kind of break down what happened there, because at 3:48, everything was all clear. When our officers arrived on scene, they met with the federal agents who were out there. The federal agents had deployed chemical agents. They deployed chemical agents while our officers were there. Those who will tell you that our officers weren't there, say that to the 27 officers who were affected by the chemical agents that were deployed by federal agents.
This is why, and then also too, Chicago, the leadership, the politicians must work with the federal agencies and be like, hey, okay, where y'all gonna go? Let's have some support. They need to work with them, because having this hostility against the federal agents is only going to make the problem worse for Chicagoans. Only going to make it worse for Chicagoans when it comes to this issue with the ICE raids. Only going to make it problem worse. Give me a second while I put it up here. And then also too, Jamal Green said, give me a second, and I want to put away his tweet here. He said, since Illinois politicians are signing orders to oppose ICE, Brandon Johnson is trying to ban them from city property. With 2.7 million residents, are requesting that the Department of Justice audit every migrant contract that's been given out in the state of Illinois. $1 billion in contracts from Brandon Johnson. Majority of the money went to favorite healthcare staffing based in Florida. 95 million of those dollars were monies left over that was of the citizens impacted by COVID. I'm sure guidelines don't allow it. This have been a corrupt money grab thus far and need to be investigated. Pastors, organizations tied to the mayor are getting paid with taxpayers to get rich. And also you're dealing with the corruption with the migrant crisis and stuff like that. You're dealing with that as well, and that need to be resolved. So I'm gonna play some more of this. Play some more of this press conference.
There were 27 reports done to document our officers who were affected by that gas. I've since had a conversation with federal agents, and on that particular day, I spoke with the leadership of the federal agency. We talked about things as to how we were going to work this out. You see, communication is the key here. Communication does not mean collaboration. This had nothing to do with immigration enforcement. What it had to do with a scene where someone in our city was shot, and we as CPD are responsible for showing up, documenting that, even when the shooting and the investigation has been taken over by the FBI.
I dare you.
Let me see. But a little bit more of this.
We stayed out there for the crime scene to make sure that evidence was preserved, because if that evidence isn't preserved, a proper and a well-performed investigation cannot be done if we don't preserve the crime scene. If we allow people to breach that area and contaminate the crime scene, it hurts the investigation. We have a duty to do so. So I need to be clear about a few things. When a crime is being committed, CPD is going to show up. And it doesn't matter if there are ICE agents there, we have a duty to investigate and protect our city. Now, there are a lot of talking heads out there. There are a lot of politics being used here. And people are using this for their political talking points. Well, my officers are not political.
The mayor, he's the main one using this for political talking points. As you can see, the superintendent, what I'm hearing, that the superintendent of the Chicago Police Department do not get along with the mayor of Chicago. I mean, I'm even hearing that the mayor of Chicago is going to fire him because they don't get along. But I'm on the side of the superintendent because he is speaking for what is the law and what the law enforcement position in this matter. This is why he need more support from federal agency, even from the National Guard, because crime is up in Chicago. Crime is up to the point that it was back in 2019. Crime is up. People is losing their lives. I'm also going to read another tweet that Jamal Green wrote about the crime, and I'll give me a second while I find that tweet, because it's very important that we find that tweet. But this is what he said. Listen to Superintendent message is totally different from the Brandon because they don't get along. He doesn't play politics, but the department is prohibited, but the Trust Act from engaging. So his hands are tied, but he made clear he will help them for safety of this city. Give me a second here. I want to read that tweet he said about the crime. If I can find that tweet. Okay, here we go. On October 5th, Jamal Green wrote this on X. He said, Chicago this year have been 350 people killed, while 1,570 people have been shot. Yet our focus is investigating ICE. Make it make sense. Our politicians play too much while blood is on our street. They hate Trump more than they love us. Then he wrote another tweet, says, Chicago, I know we focus on ICE right now, but over the past weekend, 47 people was shot. That's on October 4th. 13 dead. Our city is out of control as it has been with no leadership. So as you can see in those tweets there, Chicago definitely need the federal resource. Chicago definitely need the National Guard there because the crime is up. In DC, the crime went down because they put federal resources on the ground, okay? Federal resources on the ground. Somebody said, but when have cities ever needed National Guard unless it's at war? When the crime is up, you need that federal resource of bringing the National Guard to bring down the crime.
Political pawns. My leadership team, not political pawns. Their lives are too important to play politics with these men and women who face danger every single day. This is not a game. This is not a joke. This is still our city. And we still have a responsibility to maintain safety and calm in our city. Now, there are a couple of things that I want to address. One, what we have to deal with as a department, because I want to be clear to those who have never done the job, who haven't done the job in years, who weren't on scene, who don't know the facts or have the facts. But they've got a lot of solutions or a lot of ideas of what happened or what should have happened. Let me first talk about the Trust Act. The Trust Act prohibits law enforcement in the state of Illinois from engaging in assisting federal agents when it comes to immigration enforcement.
So in Illinois, you can't. The Trust Act prohibit the Chicago Police Department to help them with the raids, to help them bring to deport or remove illegal immigrants.
We abide by that law. The city ordinance, the Welcoming City Ordinance, goes a little further. It even prohibits us from asking someone their status. We abide by that ordinance because in law enforcement, we don't make the laws, we uphold them.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name.
And we're sworn to do so. And we take our oath seriously. Engaging with federal agents, we do it on a regular basis. We have task force officers who are out there every single day working to stop human trafficking, drug enforcement,
And also, I'm going to read one more tweet from Draymond Green. He said this on October 4th. He said, quote, people are confronting ICE and hit, getting tear gas, flash bomb, and someone rammed their car into ICE and got shot. This is happening because Illinois Democrats won't pick up the phone and call the ICE director and coordinate. Letting ICE do their own thing while they're not even talking to them is utterly ridiculous. They don't know our city, and they aren't going anywhere as of Trump orders. Coordinate with them to save our residents. Enough playing politics while the residents are pawns in between. Pick up the phone, Mayor Brandon Johnson, and make the call. So as y'all can see, J-Mo have a lot of stuff that they say. I'm going to play some more of this so you can see this, okay? Definitely going to say some more of this and everything like that. And if anybody want to call in or talk about the subject, you're more than welcome. Or you can stay in the chat and see what you got to say.
Gun violence, gun recoveries, search warrants, and everything in between when it comes to violent crime in our city. We have a great partnership with our federal agents, and we still do, and we will continue to work with them around violent crime. But let me explain how important it is to understand how difficult it is for our officers at times. Because when we look at the Trust Act and the Welcoming City Ordinance, sometimes there's a struggle when you're walking that line to make sure that you're not violating either one of those things, and at the same time enforcing the law the way that we're supposed to. One thing about law enforcement, I'll tell you this right now, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. But we accept that. So I'm not going to stand here and make excuses.
I'm glad that he said, damn it, you do, damn it, you don't. He's definitely in a tough spot because you got a city ordinance that's saying you can't do it. You can't assist with the raids. You can't assist asking immigrants about their status. You got a Trust Act, which is a state law that prohibits them to participate. But this is really crazy. The reason why Texas have a surplus is because they made sure that the burden of these migrants went to sanctuary cities like New York, Chicago, California, and these so-called sanctuary cities are suffering money-wise because they're even talking about, in Chicago in particular, raising the taxes because they decided to bring the migrants to Chicago, didn't bust them out of Chicago, fed them 3 meals a day, clothed them, medical care, transportation, and all of these things. And now they are scrambling, okay, how can we balance the budget because we are in a deficit? Even the Chicago Transit Authority that deals with public transportation, they're talking about that they probably will have to cancel the 24-hour transportation and break that off and maybe stop it at 10 p.m. or 9 p.m. because they're dealing with a budget deficit. Same thing that's going on with the Chicago public school system. So they're suffering right now. But all of that money that they got from, COVID, which was millions of dollars, I believe it was like $70 or $80 million they got of COVID money for the residents. They took that and spent it on the migrant situation, and now they're in a terrible situation financially. Now they might have to even raise the taxes. It's ridiculous, but they could have easily bust those people to Indiana or bus them to Michigan. Why would you try to take care of these people and actually put pressure on Biden and say, hey, you need to close the border and request that he bring the ICE agents to arrest them and to deport them back to their homeland? But Democrats allowed to have an open border. Also, Draymond Green said this, and this was so true what he said. He said this on X. He said Obama deported 3 million people. He was deemed the porter in chief. He built the cages, they put them in. He was fully against open borders. There never was this type of pushback. It's telling that people can't think independently of their party. I'm not a Trump fan, but I'm also not ignorant. And then also he said the problem with the Democratic politicians is that they hate Trump more than they love us. That's why they keep losing. They keep losing. Also, this is one tweet that I really agree with. He wrote this on October 3rd. He said, this is Jamal Green here. He said, here go people favorite thing to say, but buses came from Republican governor. Yeah, because he didn't want to spend all of taxpayer resources on them and have to raise taxes. Why did Biden leave the border open and then make Kamala take the fall for it as borders are? That's a big reason on why she lost. If I was the governor of Texas or Florida, I would have done the same thing. Lower the burden of my taxpayers and send them to sanctuary cities. It's common sense. That's why sanctuary cities are broke with billion-dollar deficit. And them governors of red states got surpluses. Democrat lost on this issue. Brandon Johnson finna raise your taxes again this winter to cover for the billion he spent on migrants while the other cities are thriving. Like do us taxpayers matter? Obviously not. Put us first. That is what the activist said right there. Also, thank you, True, for the super chat. Thank you, True, for doing that. Thank you, True, for the super chat. Thank you for the super chat. Let's play some more of this press conference.
Or pretend like the job is not a struggle, so we're going to make excuses about it. No, we're not going to do that. Again, these men and women go out there every single day, and these are the things that they fight through. And my leadership team wants to make sure that our officers don't get caught up in something where they end up in an investigation, fairly or unfairly. And they want to make sure that these officers are safe and that they can keep everyone else safe. So although we do not engage in immigration enforcement, we are going to enforce the law when the laws are violated. So let me be clear to the public about certain things. You have to excuse me, I'm a little dehydrated. Let me make this clear. Federal agents, ICE, HSI, are officers. They are agents of law enforcement. If you box them in with vehicles, it is reasonable for them to believe that they are being ambushed and that this could end in a deadly situation. And it's reasonable for them to use force based on those conditions. Do not box in any law enforcement officer. You are breaking the law when you do that.
Facts. Do not box it. I don't know why these people think that they can box in a law enforcement agent, or law enforcement, period. Like I don't care if it's federal, state, or local. You can't do stuff like that. Okay? You can't.
And you are putting yourself in danger. Law enforcement agents around. The question is why? What do you plan on doing? It's also reasonable for them to believe that you're eventually going to do harm to them. If you ram any vehicle, especially that one that contains law enforcement agents, and that's any law enforcement, local, state, federal, county, and you do this intentionally, this is considered deadly force. Deadly force is anything that can cause great bodily harm or death. When you plow into a vehicle that contains law enforcement agents, you're using deadly force. And they can use deadly force in response to stop you. We need to be clear about these laws. We cannot become a society where we just decide to take everything in our own hands.
I'm glad he was preaching. Do y'all understand what he was saying? He was preaching. Many people need to hear this. You can't do this, and it's really dangerous. I personally will not be protesting and getting no vehicle, blocking law enforcement doing their job. You can't do some stuff like that. Of course, they're gonna come out with the poom poom pound pound on you. Of course, you can't do this, and people need to understand that. Now, you may have sympathy, you may regret, having ICE in your neighborhood and all of that. But President Donald Trump is doing exactly what he campaigned on this issue. On this issue, he said he is going to deport these people back to their country. He said it. So don't be shocked. Don't be shocked. Let's play some more of this.
And start to commit crimes against law enforcement. It is a crime. You may not like what they're doing. I can understand that there's a lot of emotions out there, but that does not mean that you get to commit a crime, especially one that could lead to deadly force. We need to keep everyone safe. Our responsibilities when it comes to federal agents, and I've been asked these questions, we do not interfere with the duties and responsibilities of federal agents.
That's another thing. They wanted the Chicago Police Department to arrest ICE agents. He can't do that. Legally, he can't do that. Good morning, Latavia. Love you, sus. Legally, he can't do that. So he is standing his ground. Whether y'all like it or not, he's standing his ground.
We don't have to agree with it. It doesn't matter. You don't have to agree with it. We do not interfere with their orders. And when they go out to carry out their orders, they will do that the way that they're trained to do it and their understanding of what it is they have to do. Another one.
Meet Scribbler, the AI book
Always
writer.
Commercials. Good God. This video had commercials all through here.
CPD will not arrest and cannot arrest federal agents because someone deems what they're doing is illegal or unlawful. Their rules of engagement are different from CPD and other local law enforcement agents. We need to be clear about this. If we're not clear about this, we will see another event like we saw Saturday.
And I'm glad you brought that comment up. Dre Day said, if you notice, when the mayor of Chicago gave their press conference, there was no members of CPD standing behind him because they're on the side of law enforcement. The press conference that Mayor Johnson gave is just crazy. It doesn't make any sense. You're taking a side of your own citizens because it's bankrupting the city, but then you're not telling them that you spent that these contractors literally in Florida and other states outside of Chicago, outside of the state of Illinois, were getting millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars of these contracts. They benefit off this. This is in the long-term growth of the city of Chicago. It's a failure having these migrants just in the city. And then it was many of them coming over with committing crime in the neighborhood.
We cannot move like this in this city. If we want to keep the peace in this city, we need to be smart about how we do things. And attacking law enforcement under any circumstances is not safe for anyone. Because as I've said before, a member of law enforcement who cannot protect himself or herself cannot protect anyone else. And we have a responsibility to make sure that we protect ourselves and each other so that we can protect everyone else in this city. If for any reason a crime is being committed, an ICE agent, state, local police officers, if it involves law enforcement, we are going to show up. And whatever's going on there, we're going to work to stop it, put an end to it, calm the situation down. And if we need to stay there to continue to keep the situation calm, we will do exactly that. So I want to be clear about one of the things that we're going to do now. What we're going to do, and this is my decision because I need to be firm on this. When we show up to a scene and a crowd gathers, CPD is going to step out there. We're going to make sure that we maintain that scene and we keep people calm. This is our city, and we're going to make sure that we bring some type of calm or resolution to whatever's going on at that scene. We will be there. Now, when we look at what has happened, there's some things that we can work on. Because whenever you see something for the first time and you respond to it, there's always something that you can do better. That's what we do. And that's why we're having an after action about what happened so that we can prepare if something like this happens again, or to prepare to make sure that we can avoid it. So we learned some things. Now, I'm going to allow some questions from everyone here. I'll do my best to answer your questions to the best of my ability. Again, I would like for everyone to stay on topic as to what we're talking about here right now. And when it's over, there's some things that I'm probably going to touch on if we don't get to them with the questions. So go ahead.
Okay, we'll start here, please.
Madison with Black Club Chicago. Superintendent, when you said there were 27 agents affected by the chemical agents used, can you expand on that? What do you mean by these officers were affected?
Well, thanks for that question, Madison. Our officers were out there. There were chemical agents dropped. Our officers were pulled from other locations to go over there. On Saturday, we had multiple events going on, including a large protest in the downtown area. So in order to help out at this location, we pulled officers from other places. They did not have the equipment to fight off a chemical agent, and they were affected by it. Were there any major injuries? No. Our officers are resilient and tough, and they were actually pretty tough on the scene. And but we made sure that it was documented just in case they had some after effects from it. We just want to make sure that our officers are safe. So those officers are doing good, and then thank you for the question.